What's up, shoemakers? You're welcome back to Bomber Bespoke. Today again, I want to talk on a few concepts involved in making loafers, apron loafers, particularly mules, what you call half shoes. I want to talk on some of the concepts involved in making them, and I must apologize for doing this while we were in the middle of our sneakers classes. In the middle of those sneakers classes, I got a large batch order that I had to deliver on. So while I was working on that order, I decided to shoot some videos just to show you guys a few things that I also do in the process of creating half shoes and loafers. So the first part of this video is going to be dedicated to the dimensions, the proportions for creating mules, and then I'll shoot another video on some of the things pertaining to some questions that I have received with regards to creating some parts of loafers. So let's go ahead and create this loafers. So right away you can see that the last length of the last that I'm using is 32 cm, meaning that 1/8 of that last length is 4 cm, and that of course will be the width of the tongue of my loafers. Now this is a quick recap on how to create a basic loafers, and if you guys if you're new here and you really don't know what's going on, there's a whole playlist on how to make loafers that you should check. So you can see that is the top line of my loafers. I drew a line parallel to it just to have that flap that appears on the under of the top line of loafers. Now let's talk about the tongue. Oh, before then, let's find a way to cut this basic loafers into two so that we can have our half shoe or our mule. So that's the middle of our quarter line. We draw a line perpendicular to it, to the feather edge, and that's going to form the point where the curve dividing our loafers into a half shoe, that's where it's going to terminate. So we use the same dimensions, the same 4 cm, which is 1/8 of our last length, and start at that intersection point of the tongue and the top line. We'll mark that 4 cm on the top line, and then using our French curve, we can connect those points. So from that point 1/4, from the intersection point of the tongue and the quarter line, then connecting down to the short heel, which is perpendicular to the middle of the quarter line. So I'm outlining our half shoe, so you can see that that's the outline of our half shoe. Now where do I want the apron of this shoe to start? So I just took a tape and saw that okay, just about 5 cm from the tip will be okay. So I mark in 5 cm from the tip. So I draw a line from that point. I draw a right angle from that point, 5 cm, and then I want the half of the width of my tongue to be about 1.7 cm. Then I join that point to the intersection point of my tongue and my top line. So join that, simple. Next, I'll use my French curve to curve in the intersection of those two lines. Now, the front part of the vamp is already on a straight line, so there'll be no need for springing. How to spring this curved apron part is now the issue that we must deal with. First of all, let's mark out clearly the vamp line. As you can see, that is the vamp line. It starts from that vamp point and goes all the way down towards the ball. So we've marked out the vamp line clearly. All the parts that fall in front of the vamp line already falls on a straight line. So of course, no need for any springing on that area. Again, all the points lying behind that vamp point. So if we draw the point lying in front of the vamp point, you see that we don't have a need for any springing. Again, look at all of the points lying behind the vamp point. It also lies on a straight line. But if we go ahead and draw that path, you find that the angle that the vamp point makes in between those two areas, the dimensions will be distorted. To correct that, we draw a right angle from the vamp point this way. So that angle you see there is a right angle. So let's go ahead and start the process of our springing. So if we place the vamp point on the same point where we started earlier, so that's the vamp point right there. Now if we take the point where the front part of the vamp, the apron, terminates, and just move the vamp point a little bit towards the left and use the next point as our pivot, and move the vamp point a little bit towards the left again until the parts of our apron behind the vamp point lies straight on our center line. Then we can draw in the rest of the apron. Now if you do this like this, you see that we have actually moved our vamp point from between 2 points, and that ultimately elongates the apron by that distance that you see. So the apron has been elongated by about 1 cm, which isn't really ideal. What we want is the apron's total length to remain consistent. So if we take our vamp point back to where it originally should be, we can draw in the rest of the apron to the point where it meets the dimensions the lines that we drew when we sprung before. So if we draw this in, this is the appropriate dimensions of our apron, such that if we place this here, you find that everything we have prior to this point is in check, and if we turn back down, everything is in check. So we can go ahead and fold this apron over and then cut out the apron. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it actually worked. So the long and short of the entire process is you will move the vamp point along the center line so that you get the accurate positions for the parts falling in between the angle made by the front part of the apron and its back. So once you've gotten those points that fall in between the angle, you just reduce the total dimension that you had ultimately by subtracting the additional length that you added by moving the vamp point. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Until we see you in the next class, which is going to be on loafers before we go back to our sneakers classes. Until then, God bless you.